Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. So now let's talk about the famous author of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki says that silver is the biggest investment bargain right now. If you guys don't know, Robert Kiyosaki has been stacking silver for decades. I had the honor to be a special guest on his podcast with over 3 million subscribers on YouTube, and it is titled The Number One Asset Everyone Can Afford. You'd see Robert Kiyosaki and myself, Silver Slayer, and it has 657,000 views. It's just us talking about silver. We had a great conversation. He told me some stories from back in the day. I mentioned my thoughts on what makes silver so valuable and has so much potential. And it's a really cool episode. If you guys want to check it out, I'll link it in the description or the pinned comment. But yeah, so we all know that silver is extremely undervalued. And if you don't know that, then one, you don't understand the value of silver or the true value. And even more importantly, number two, you don't understand the true value of a dollar, which is basically nothing. So I want to dive into this article. This came out August 28th, 2023, so it's still very new. I will link this in the description as well. And make sure you subscribe, not only because I post daily silver videos, but also because I'm doing some massive giveaways as we are on the road to 100,000 subscribers. If you want a chance to win silver shipped straight to your front doorstep, all you gotta do is click one button. That button is subscribe and go enter in the entry video. Like always, may the luckiest stacker win. So, Rich Dad, Robert Kiyosaki says silver is the biggest investment bargain right now. Have you guys read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Let me know. So he added, silver has been money for centuries. Rather than investing in fiat money, which Kiyosaki called counterfeit fake dollars, investing in commodities may provide a hedge against inflation and the whims of the stock market. Plus, silver has an affordable entry point since you can invest in silver coins, bullion, jewelry, or ETFs that track silver trends. The ETF iShares Silver Trust sells for just over $22 right now. Bazinga recently reported silver is selling for roughly $24 an ounce. Silver is widely used in electric vehicles and solar panels due to its excellent conductive properties. And this is where I really dug deep into our podcast. And that section, that's the part I wanted to really portray to that massive audience, is not only the micro, but the macro, looking past just inflation and all that. I wanted to bring to light the silver shortage and just how scarce silver truly is. Record-breaking supply deficits this year, EVs and solar panels and 5G towers and silver lithium-ion batteries and so on and so forth, over the next decade, how that's going to affect silver's price. That's the angle I really came on in that podcast. But anyways, EV manufacturers use silver and electrical contacts for automatic braking, power steering, and navigation systems. This has led to a supply deficit for 5 years and running. And folks, it's only going to get worse. According to Kinesis Money Blog, that could drive prices up in the near future. And when I say near future, at least let me speak for my own self, my own thoughts. I say by the year 2025, 2026 is when we're really going to see silver explode. I think by then everyone will understand silver's true value and how scarce it is and how critical of a role it plays as we advance in this new digital technological era. But some people say a lot sooner than that. And when you incorporate the inflation part, it could be. Who knows? We have a lot of stuff coming up like the 2024 presidential election. We got a war going on. There's a lot happening. So who knows? We're living in crazy times, so expect crazy things to happen and also expect crazy prices and volatility. So silver's use as an industrial metal, especially in growing industries related to sustainability gives the commodity value as a hedge against inflation. However, the other side of that coin, so to speak, is that its price tends to fluctuate more than gold's, and due to rising interest rates and other factors, it has failed to surpass $30 an ounce despite of the supply deficit. And and the other factors part, I'm going to throw in price manipulation, and that's not a theory. That's not a conspiracy. We don't gotta even bust out our tinfoil hats because J.P. Morgan recently got caught doing this, and it wasn't just got caught by people saying, "Oh, they did it." 2 of their employees got sent to prison for this a couple months ago. It's not, as much as people just speculating. People are going to prison for this, and they paid a $920 million fine. Other banks have got caught manipulating the price of silver as well. Merrill Lynch and the Dutch Bank. And how they do this is called spoofing, placing false buy orders or sell orders on these exchanges and canceling the order before it goes through, basically manipulating everyone else on that exchange, thinking that a whole bunch of people are buying silver or selling it, and then in return, JP Morgan cancels the order where all those other people don't know that that order is going to get canceled. They place thousands of these, and they've been doing it for decades, and they cash out from it. It's very, very illegal. The hardest part to tell, though, is you're allowed to cancel buy or sell orders, so how can you catch someone with the ill intent to do so? Because you could just, you could ask someone, they could say, well, I canceled it because yada, yada, yada. But you have to look at patterns, and it's a very sticky situation, to say the least. But I'm glad that they're cracking down more now than ever. And they started to crack down more in 2020. I remember actually reading the announcement when they announced they're going to start cracking down harder on it, because I've been talking about this for years that they need to, because they used to just give a slap on the wrist, fine them like $20 million something, nobody goes to prison. But if you know that your life may actually be affected beyond just a slap on the wrist, especially if you're a banker or from a bank, you might actually have to go to prison. It might make you second guess doing this stuff. But anyways, however, Kiyosaki maintains that silver is a biggest investment bargain since 1915. Silver's inflation-adjusted value has grown by roughly 50% according to U.S. News and World Report, indicating that it can outpace inflation. The direction silver takes in the short term could deepen on the Federal Reserve's next move at the next Federal Open Market Committee meeting. And that's let's talk about speculation, folks. We all know that I hate that S word, speculation. Silver should be based more off the fundamentals. But that's just, you can kick, scream, cry, whine, whatever. But we gotta invest with our head, not our hearts. And if another rate hike takes place, the price of both silver and gold could fall even more. We know the dollar's inevitably going to collapse. I mean, regardless, putting fake money into real money is always the better option, in my opinion. And, right now, things are just getting crazier and faster. It's like a domino effect. So anyways, the current environment of still elevated inflation and out of control deficit spending has always been the core bullish view for precious metals. So before jumping into silver investments, study the market and learn exactly what you're buying. I like this. I like that they said this. Before you invest into anything, you got to understand the value of it. You have to understand why people are buying it. Don't just jump on the hype train blindly, because then when silver's price does start to dip, you'll start second guessing yourself because you don't understand why it has potential. Meaning you need confirmation and validation that it will go up. And if you're not getting that confirmation or validation soon enough, you're going to start panicking. And that's what panic selling is. People that have weak hands because they don't understand silver's true value. Like I said earlier in this video, if you don't understand silver's true value or the dollar's true value, it's going to be a lot harder. You have to understand what makes silver valuable. Because then when the price dips, instead of getting anxious and worrying, you're celebrating because you get to buy it for cheaper, knowing that it's extremely undervalued. And now it's at a bigger discount. You see how these two different people could have two completely different perspectives on one asset with one price on one specific day? You have to know why. And if you're watching this video this far in, then you're doing your research. You're learning. You're not clicking off this video within the first 2 minutes thinking that you know everything and that you don't need to know anymore. You know, you're keeping an open mind, soaking up all this information, which is going to pay off, pun intended. Imagine there's two different people. One guy sits on his couch, thinks he knows it all, doesn't need to keep up to date with the times or look at what silver's doing. He just is aimlessly and blindly investing with an ego attached. And then there's a second guy who researches daily, very cool, calm, and collect. Isn't always anxious and ego-driven like the first guy. He's looking at things realistically, stepping back, investing with his head, not his heart. Which one of those two people do you think is going to be the successful investor? The second guy, of course. So, you know, when you're subscribed to at least a channel like mine that posts very frequently, I post daily. But, you know, if you're doing this stuff, it's going to pay off. So I thought this was a great article. And if you guys really want to feel what Robert Kiyosaki is saying, then go watch my podcast with him. Instead of just reading some of the quotes from an interview he did, go watch the video. Go watch that podcast. Because having the you know, this one-on-one conversation between us, and he tells stories back, you know, when it's I don't want to spoil anything. It's an amazing podcast episode. There's so much knowledge just being talked about between Robert Kiyosaki and I about silver and about its true value. And he talks a lot about the dollar's true value, which is nothing. So I'll link that in the description and the pinned comment as well if you guys want to check that out. Like I said, it has almost 700,000 views for a reason. It's a great conversation, and it really brings to light the undervalued nature of silver. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you want a chance to win some silver shipped straight to your front doorstep, click subscribe and go enter. May the luckiest stacker win. If you want to purchase some silver, go buy from Miles Franklin. Andy Schectman is the CEO. And actually in this podcast, Robert Kiyosaki talks about this. He says, my silver dealer for over 40 years says you can't find silver anymore. But then he says, you know who can? Andy Schectman. That is important. Andy Schectman can find silver where no one else can. He filled a $50 million order in 2 days. Nobody else in this world could do that, could pull that off, especially in 2 days. So send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know Silver Slayer sent you. I got you guys. And yeah, so anyways, thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.